Welcome, I'm Mick, an ordinary lad, and this is Sovereign Warriors. So, what you're saying really, this is a massive fraud against the people of this country.
Yeah, it's massive, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Just want to say on that last question there that because when the treason was committed when we went into the EU in 1973, that all the statutes post 73 statutes, legislations and acts that's been imposed are null and void because it can't be legitimised.
Yeah.
It can't be legitimised because we've usurped the monarchy from a throne who helps legitimise statutes, legislations and acts. And there's another maxim in laws that no parliament can levy, can bind its successor, therefore no acts or statutes can be permanent. Mostly down to 1973 because they're null and void, but no parliament can bind its successor. And this means that the power comes from the people, because it's the people who can make the statutes, legislation, acts. You've got to look at how they create law and these legislations. I'm not going too deep with it. The government, the parliament, you've got the church, and you have the monarchy, and they sit there and they make these legislations that come out, and that's why you say, "Oh, we've created a new law." It's not new law. It's the power of the people to do that, and they do that through courts, with the jury of 12, because they can then realise that if it's going to be used for any purpose within their daily life, okay, that's fine. But if it has, they throw it out, and that's why they don't like the people being sovereign, and that's why they don't like the sovereignty side of it, and the jury of 12. And they always try and take you down
away from the jury of 12.
Yeah,
they'll
do
everything.
And they have a judge
bargain, please, yes. We'll do this. Just don't go to the jury.
Of course, yes. So coming back to your question you just asked there. So
it is a massive fraud against the people of this country, isn't it?
Yeah, of course. So okay, what you've got to do with the courts because of this fraud, you've got to ask really the court, where did they get their authority from? So you look at where's their authority, and is it from the Magistrates Court Act of 1980? And where do they get their equity from? Is that the pound sterling? Did they get paid there? So what you've got to do is, so if they do get authority from the 1980 Crown Agents, not the Crown, the 1980 Magistrates Court Act, due to the monarchy being usurped from her crown in 1973, by joining the EEC in January, and that disposed her from the controlling side of things of the monarchy, and she became not the monarchy as we were led to believe what it was, but she became head of the state, as we know,
head of the corporation,
head of a corporation. And so any statutes or statutes, as I mentioned before, and legislation are null and void because of that treason, because they can't be legitimised. And part of being these statutes,
everything that's come after cannot be legitimised because treason was already committed. And anything after that doesn't fall into anything.
She's lost the sovereignty authority to put these in place, and obviously we know that the governments are being put these in place. And then you've got to also look at, and then you ask, are they getting their equity through? Are they being paid by the pound sterling GDP? But you've got to go back to the Bretford Agreement, 1944, when pound sterling was backed by the US dollar, and the US dollar was backed by gold. Then in 1971, August 1971, Nixon, the president of the USA, took the gold off the US dollar, and now been fed by the Federal Reserve, which is a US independent corporation, given its money. So we know that they get their authority from the Crown, the 1980 Magistrates Court Act, which we know is null and void because of the treason. We also know that if they're getting paid by the GBP, which is created by and backed by the Federal Reserve, which is a foreign independent corporation, that then there's a monetised. They are encouraged, or conflicts of interest, so to think. They have been monetised to take that money, which is a conflict of interest. They have no jurisdiction because they've been monetised through a corporation from another corporation that then creates what would you say?
Fraud.
Motivated. Yeah. It's just fraud.
Yeah.
They've been monetisally motivated through that because it's money. It's money orientated, not a court as such.
Yeah.
And that is, as you say, it's fraud and treason and corruption.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is basically then proving the treason and the fraud and everything that you were claiming.
Yeah, again, like I say, so if they're getting their authority from the 1980s Court Act, then yes, we know that because it's null and void because of the treason.
Yeah.
And we've also got to look at, I think you know about this one, Helmsbury's Law 2011.
Yeah.
And that states that all administration courts or county courts
have no
authority, and they cannot run because they cannot be legitimised. Again,
and they can never be legitimised.
They cannot be legitimised, no, and no statute, legislation, and that can legitimise them because of the constraints on the monarchy at the time of her coronation. So you can't legitimise them as such. So on that there, and anything that's taken out, so fines, fortitudes, or anything that's taken out of this court is done by extortion.
Yeah.
So they've been extorted money, so it's corrupt and it's fraud. And that's in Helmsbury's Law 2011. It's a statement fact. If anyone goes to court, you just stand up to the judge, Helmsbury's Law 2011. Is this a court? Is this an administration court? There's no lawful authority or administration court because they cannot be legitimised. So it's what they do, they turn it into a maritime court.
Yeah.
To
trick you into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coronation Act. You can explain these
things,
but we can't go too deep.
No,
we
can't
go over people's...
and that's it. Yeah, so and this is why the Bill of Rights, the Coronation Oath, then the Acts of Settlement, and everything else are important to us. And as this mentioned before, no fines, fortitudes without convictions by a jury of 12. And that's in Act today. So we have every right to apply for a jury of 12. So you can generally say anyone who's been sent down to prison without that, or been to prison through an administration court, have that thrown out.
Yeah.
Because they're not being legitimised.
Yeah, it's not been followed due process.
Yes, and also you've got to look at the Clearfield Doctrine 2008.
Yeah.
Of the corruption there, and we can go a little bit more into that as well.
So that is all the evidence we actually need to prove that
crazy, mate.
It's all bollocks, basically.
Yeah, it's crazy, mate. Because when there was a meeting in Parliament, actually in the Houses of Parliament, usually one of the side rooms, and in those side rooms there, you had ex-magistrates, judges, Supreme Court judges. You had superintendents, chief inspectors in there, and that. You had King's Bench and Queen's Bench judges and that. MPs in there. You had high people in echelons of society, who had £1 million businesses and everything, all sat in this meeting. It was quite
treacherous.
No, I wouldn't say it's treacherous. It was quite educating because what it was eventually saying, they know all about this. What we're talking about today, they know all about it. They know about the corruption through the government and now what they're implementing. They know about the treason in 1973. They know about no one's getting any justice in courts. They know that. They know that the banks are controlling these courts through this justice. You've got ex-JPs in there stating, yes, they know about it. They talk about the control of the banks. They know that the police are being used to enforce this fraud and corruption. They know that, and it's happening. These are ex-superintendents admitting that this corruption and fraud is happening. So you've got to look at what they're trying to do, and even they are stuck about this because you've got to look at what's happened with the post office fraud. We know that's all come out, and that was hidden for many years, but they knew it from day one that it was corruption. What you've got to look at now, what the corruption are actually exposing now, is that post office is not a discredit to the people who got caught up with that. It's a pebble in a pond. But what they got to expose would be like a tsunami on us. It really would, because the banking fraud, the corruption, the treason, and what they're trying to implement and what they're forcing in through us now is absolutely unbelievable. But And these people in these high places know about this, and they know that the government know about it, but they don't know how to then bring it to a fore, to bring things accountable, because they know if it's brought out in such a way and the people suddenly realise, there'll be mayhem on the streets.
Yeah.
How we got to, and this is why we're doing this video, we're trying to help it. They're trying to attack it from the top, and we're coming from the grassroots. So how we can do it is by joining together on non-compliance, but en masse. No shouting, no screaming, no violence, no nothing, but en masse.
Stop paying your taxes.
Stop paying the taxes, yes.
Especially that poll tax, what it's called, the council tax.
Yes,
It's just crap.
It is.
It's just crap, and it's just another way of putting the foot on the neck on the people.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And if you're full enough to pay it, well, more fool you. They love you for that.
Yeah.
But you can stand there and say, prove this, prove that, and you don't have to pay nothing.
Yes,
and there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
And just lately, the courts ruled that they cannot come into your home and take anything for council tax debts now.
Yeah.
So
it.
What's that tell you? That tells you that it's all corrupt.
Yeah, that tells you, yeah.
That's right.
Massive.